Welcome to this new how-to. In this how-to we're going to look at how you can start the engine of the Beechcraft 17, which is one of the famous flyers which have been released for Flight Simulator. Actually, it's the first one, and hopefully there will be more. So the aircraft is currently, I would say, parked in a nice and sunny airport. You can see that the engine has, let's say, not been started yet, but everybody's ready. So let's jump inside the aircraft. So there are multiple things which you need to take into account. So the fuel piece, or actually the tank piece, is over here, right? So by default, if you would boot up the aircraft, the fuel selector is already set to main, so you don't need to, let's say, change a lot there. So keep that in mind. That's something, well, actually you shouldn't keep it in mind because it's already set correct for you. Then of course there are the buttons over here, right, which includes the master switch, but also the rotating beacon and the fuel pump. Although the fuel pump is not specifically mentioned, also not in the official checklist, right, because you can always use the checklist, which you can find here, which describes what you need to do, right? So carburetor heat, for example, is one of those buttons which you can find over here. So with that said, let's close it, right, because we know it mostly from the top of the head. So make sure that the propeller is set correctly, make sure that the mixture is set correctly, and then increase the throttle a bit. That's just to ensure that, I would say, the engine starts working correctly. And then we can go into this piece. So one thing I figured out is that besides the fuel pump, there's also nothing for the alternator, right? So if you set the alternator, or if you leave it off, that will still work. And that's a little bit strange because it's in the manual. If you would look here, it says that you need to switch it on to make sure that the engine starts, which again, to me makes sense because that's responsible for the electricity, right? So let's switch it on in this case. The beacon was already switched on, the alternator is switched on. Prime, right, that's the button you can find here. You can pull it and then you will hear the nice sound, right? So that's something which is optional. It's not, I would say, a hard recommendation. And then we move the buttons to both, and then it simply is a matter of pressing start. And then you can already see that the engine has started. Let me hide the checklist. So it's, I would say, kind of easy, right? A little bit comparable with the Cessnas. So once the engine has started, you can, I would say, reduce the throttle. That will bring the aircraft down to a little bit more silence. While talking about this, let's see how we can control the engine. Controlling the engine, we discussed it also in several other videos. So the buttons for that are mainly here, right? So it's the propeller, which allows you to reduce the RPM, and it's the mixture, which allows you to set it to more lean. Again, for this one, watch out that you don't pull it too far away like this, because then you will shut down the engine and you need to restart it. Especially not good if it happens in the air, right? So starting it again, you can see that you can pull it, and you hear that the engine starts to run slower. Or did we pull it already too far? No. See, it actually runs. And the cool thing is that you can also see that the RPM meter here, or the RPM gauge, also is going down. And the same thing will happen if we do the propeller, although it's pretty minimal, right? So the good thing is that it has an effect on the fuel usage. So you can, I would say, reduce it to, let's say, preserve a lot of fuel, right? And you can see that this rotor, actually it turns slower. So what if we push back these ones again completely forward? Then you will see that it has a direct effect on the fuel flow here, right? So you can see it's now set to 1.3. So if we're reducing this one, you won't see much changes, although the RPM decreases a bit. Does it? not too much, because that's probably because we're running low RPM. And then we've got the mixture one, and if we reduce the mixture one, you can see that we're really saving fuel, right? 1.2, 1.1 also still possible, even 1.0 is possible. So let's see the effect if we push everything normal, right, and we're pushing the throttle a little bit more. So let's first stabilize it. And now let's start playing again with the buttons, right? And here you can see that this one works, right? So if you pull back the propeller in, I would say, idle state of the throttle, you won't see much difference. But if you do it, I would say, with throttle a little bit pushed forward, you can see that it definitely reduces the RPMs. And with that also, it of course reduces the fuel usage, although it's minimal. Because the fuel usage is mainly, I would say, decided by using this magic button. Right, you can see we're now at 2.2 compared to 4.7 was it initially. So you can imagine that you will, I would say, keep some money in your pocket because you're using less fuel, which is good for you in this case. So in this video we looked mainly at how to start the engines of the Beechcraft. It's not that hard, right? There's no, I'd say, no things which you need to be, I would say, concerned about, because there are some issues I think with the official instruction, because, or with the, I would say, with the technical working of the instruction, because this button, although it works, right, there was no change when I tried it earlier on. When I left it off, it simply worked. So something to keep in mind. Hopefully it will be fixed in a future release. Here ends this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you've got questions or comments, then feel free to post them in the comment box below. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then make sure that you're subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.